back to the Gifty O conversations. Before I say anything else, if you are new to this channel, please subscribe and watch more of our videos and like our videos. That stuff really helps the channel. Thank you so much. Have you ever made a decision that you have regretted, or you've ever felt that life is not going as planned? Well, we are going to listen to someone who is going to be telling us all about his life and his story and how he gets through his life. Hi, Colin.
Hi, Gifty. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thank you for making the time to join me.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I know you have a good story to tell us. I am not privy to all the story, but I just know tidbits of the story. So I am here to learn as well from you and then listen to the full story. So you grew up in Kenya, right?
Yes.
How was life like as a child growing up in Kenya?
Yes. So I had a very interesting childhood experience. And so I was born when I was born in the eastern parts of the country in a place called Embu, because that's where my parents were living at the time. And then because of a change in jobs, we eventually moved to the western parts of Kenya to Maseno, and then we eventually settled in a small village called Bumini. And you know, I grew up in a very modest family, and so everything was not always available. And, that was kind of like a challenge for me to just work hard and follow my dreams. But one thing that I particularly enjoyed and loved about my family was just how dedicated both my parents were towards making sure that all of us got good education.
Yeah. Your parents were educated, right?
Yes.
Yes, and the job they had was like a modest job with modest pay. So how were they able to see you through? How many were you, by the way? Were you the only child?
No, so I do actually come from a very interesting family setup. And so on our side of the family, so my dad had two wives, and on our side of the family, I actually had six siblings, and then I had seven siblings on the other side. So
Whoa, that's a huge family.
yeah, it's a full football team.
Wow. How does it feel like living with such a big family?
Uh, it was actually very interesting. So like when I was growing up, I would actually like spend time with like both sides of the family. And so I got to have like a very close relationship with like most of my siblings. And so yeah, like it can be a bit challenging, just especially from the point of like ensuring that like everyone is fully provided for, because like
Yeah.
those are like many siblings for sure. But my dad being the hard worker he was actually able to pull it off.
Wow. Wow. Tell us about schooling in Kenya, right to um, your university level.
Yes, so in terms of education, I believe I actually like started school at a very young age. And so I believe I first went to nursery school when I was about 4 years old.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, so like we usually have like nursery for like about a year. And then once you finish that, you go to class one, and then you have to spend like 8 years in primary school. And the whole idea is to work as hard as you can to get like good grades. And then once you have good grades, you can go to like a good high school. And then the good high school will essentially provide you with a platform to essentially get good grades again, and then be able to go to university and pursue the courses that you actually want to pursue. And so we have like 8 years of primary school, and then we have 4 years of high school. And then depending on the course that you decide to do for your college education, it can take anywhere between uh, 2 years to 6 years.
How long did your college education take?
So for me personally, it took 4 years. And
Mhm.
so I went to pursue a Bachelor's of Business Information Technology at Strathmore University. And yeah, that took me 4 years.
What happened after that? I know that you were a student of Carnegie Mellon University. We were mates, of course, so I know you. But tell us about the process of you applying, and then were you expecting to get in? How did you feel when you received the letter that you are finally in? How was it like?
Yes. So yeah, actually my story and IT and computer science is actually very interesting. So when I finished high school, I didn't exactly know what I wanted to do. I had like good grades, but I was not exactly sure what I wanted to do. And I'm actually still not sure I know exactly what I want to do now. But
Really?
yes, but after like talking to my dad and him having like consultations with some of his friends, they eventually convinced him that like doing information technology and computer science would actually be like a good career path for me, as I'd be able to like pivot to like different areas depending on my interests. And so it's based on that advice that I eventually pursued like a bachelor's degree in information technology. And then afterwards, I got a job in Kenya that I did for a while. Actually, like first of all, got a job in marketing, which I actually enjoyed despite coming from like an IT background.
Wow.
And that job would be so much fun because the company I used to work for was mostly offering corporate training services. And so would essentially like go out and find people to come and partake in these training programs. And it was kind of fun because like every time this training would actually happen, like I would get to travel to like new places and help facilitate some of those trainings. So that was very interesting. However, I would subsequently get another job that now would allow me to use my IT skills. And it was an interesting job, but I was just kind of like not sure I knew exactly what was going on and what
Mhm.
I was exactly doing. And that's how I actually decided to take a shot on grad school. And so uh, I received this email one day from actually my university, Strathmore, and they were telling us about a visiting professor from Carnegie Mellon who was coming to attend a conference, and they suggested that they would really love for some of us to meet with him. And so I met him. He kind of like told us about the CMU story, how CMU is one of the best schools in engineering, and essentially encouraged us to apply. And yeah, I decided to apply. I was actually like not very like sold out on the whole idea of going to grad school. I think I was mostly just applying to grad school because here I was in a job where I was not exactly sure like what I was actually doing. And so eventually like went ahead, applied, and yeah, I did get in, and the rest has been history.
Wow. Wow. You know, I have interacted with people on this channel who seem to have everything going according to plan. They know what they want to do when they enter college, and they just go ahead and pursue it. But it's interesting to hear from you that you still don't know what you want to do, really.
Yeah, it sounds very absurd when I tell people I'm still trying to figure out what I'm trying to do because everyone assumes just because I'm in a PhD program right now, I have like a very clear-cut path of where exactly I want to go, but that's actually not the case.
When do you think you would figure out what you want to do? Like really figure, do you think there is a timeline to that?
Uh, I think retrospectively thinking about it, I may actually never be able to like figure out exactly what I want to do, and that's okay. Uh, I do enjoy the things I'm actually doing right now. I feel like I'm in a space where I'm able to contribute uh, towards pushing the research in security and privacy forward, and particularly for communities that have traditionally been understudied. So I enjoy doing that quite a lot. But like in terms of knowing exactly like where I really want to go, where I want to be in the next like 3 years, I actually have no idea. And I feel like that's okay.
Wow. So you're one of those people who loves to live in the moment.
Yes.
Okay, so you find something you love to do, you do it. If it gets boring, you find something else to do. Is that it?
Absolutely. And I feel like that's actually one of the reasons why I enjoy doing research quite a lot. And so again, before I came to like start doing my PhD program, I worked in a security consultancy job for like a while. And it was just like impulsively like me noticing some of the issues that our customers are actually facing and being like, maybe I could actually contribute to solving some of these problems through a PhD program. And then spoke to a few people and they're like, yeah, you should actually consider doing a PhD. And that's how I literally found myself doing a PhD. So again, that was like totally unplanned and it's just something that happened and was probably born out of a conversation with someone.
Wow, Collins. That's interesting. I'm trying to figure things out here, even though I'm the one interviewing you. But my life has been, I believe that, oh, you have to plan for your life, go have a plan, have goals, set objectives, achieve them one after the other. But then I also love your idea or your approach, because no matter how many goals you set and how many goals you check off, you always seem to want something more, and it never finishes.
Yeah.
So that idea of living in the moment, it still sounds good to me.
Yeah, I think it's just very like rewarding for me personally. Like I struggle, especially when I try to set long-term goals. And so if you ask me for sure what I'm doing this week and next week, I know. But like anything beyond that, I actually have no idea.
Wow. Wow. Let's go back to Carnegie Mellon. I remember we were having, during orientation, we were having lunch one time, and we were having a conversation during that time. And then you didn't have a scholarship then, right?
Yeah.
I also didn't have a scholarship then. So I asked you what you will do if you never get a scholarship. And you told me something interesting. You said that you would take it as though you had a 1 month vacation in Rwanda and just go back. I was really, really shocked. Tell us about how you ended up in Rwanda without a scholarship and you coming anyway and then finally getting a scholarship. Tell us about that process.
Yes. So I actually like never got any scholarship, but I was somehow able to like survive through the whole process, which is actually not what I'd planned for. I remember clearly when I was leaving home to like travel to Rwanda and I was having this conversation with my dad and I'd had like lots of conversations with the staff at CMU and they had kept assuring me that, there are still scholarship opportunities that I would get considered for. And so I had to like convince my dad quite a lot that yes, this was me setting out to like a new country that I'd never been to before and like everything would actually work out. I actually had no idea how things were going to work out. And so at the back of my mind, like every time I was there, I just kept assuring myself that like if this doesn't work out for sure, I'm actually going to go back home. And this was the plan all along until the very final day when I was having a conversation with a lot of my classmates and he had also not gotten a scholarship and he actually like made me to like take a step back and look at the bigger picture because he was like, sure, you can actually go back and maybe do your master's at like a local Kenyan university. But if you start looking at the merits and demerits and like how much money you're actually going to pay, and if you put everything together, you might actually be much better off like just sticking around and trying to make this work. And so I was like, sure, I'll actually stick around and try to see how this pans out the first semester. And if things actually work out, then I might consider like staying here through the whole program, which eventually turned out to be the case. But it was never clear cut.
Wow, you never had a scholarship.
No.
How did you do it? Do you know, I never knew this.
Yes. So it was mostly me working. So like during my first semester, my dad was able to pay half of the tuition. Again, it was not very easy. He had to like sacrifice quite a lot, but he was able to like pay half of it. And then for myself, through student jobs and other things, I was able to pay the other half. But things ultimately aligned. So like after that first semester, I think I was able to get an internship with teletracking, which was paying relatively well. And it's
Yeah.
actually through that I was able to like offset my bills going forward. So that was like a big breakthrough eventually. But like
Wow.
I could like looking backwards, like I just don't know how all these things were able to align, but they did.
Wow. Okay. Do you believe in fate? That if something is for you, then it will eventually come to you, or you believe in doing your best, putting in the maximum effort. Everything depends on the individual. What do you believe?
Yeah, I actually don't think like fate is actually a real thing. Like I just don't think that like somehow things are just like somehow like things are going to align and like work in a way they are supposed to. I don't really believe such a thing exists. And so like personally, I think if you put in the hours and if you like strive to make things happen, they eventually will happen. And there's nothing like fate. Like fate does not exist. And everything happens because of all the efforts and also like just luck and other things aligning for you. But like fate itself, I don't believe it's a real thing.
Wow. Well, let's go to back to CMU. Okay. Um,
Mm-hmm.
all our colleagues will would testify that it's tough over there.
Yeah.
You spend sleepless nights. In fact, you rent a room and you never sleep in the room. You sleep on the couch back at school. Tell us a little bit about your experience with academic work in CMU.
Yeah. So like looking back at the whole CMU experience, yes, I agree it was very challenging. I feel like most of us had come from like a very different educational background where, you could actually like get away with not putting in any work like right
Mhm.
through the whole semester and then spend the last week of the semester like preparing for your finals and you actually like get to pass the course just
Yeah.
because maybe 70% of your grade comes from the final exam. And also like the standards in terms of like words and air are like relatively low for most of our educational institutions compared to the CMU experience where suddenly you need to get like a 90 to like get an A minus, which was like a very steep curve coming
Yeah.
from the 70% that most of us were used to. And so most of us felt like we had to like really work hard to be able to like meet that bar. And a lot of that also just came from the experiences of like other classes where they were like, oh, CMU is going to be tough and all that. But as I progressed through the program, the amount of effort I was actually putting in like was actually going down and my performance was actually getting better. And
Wow.
it just turns out that I think most of it was just down to like time management, like, planning out your time properly, getting started on assignments immediately, because assignments are always constant. That's like one thing I learned. And if you didn't create like some time like purposefully to have some fun, like you are just going to like get burned out reading and doing assignments all the time. And so like looking back, even though it was like a tough experience to like get in and hit the ground running, I feel like part of it was also just because we were not like used to that experience. We did not have like good time management skills, and those only like got better as we proceeded further in the program. And like right now, I actually like feel pretty confident about like having a bunch of tasks and somehow being able to like navigate through most of them. And so I'd actually say the biggest thing that I carried away from that program is just the ability to know that, like given a task, no matter how enormous it might seem, if I actually like plan properly, I can be very confident that I'm going to be able to finish it.
Yeah. Wow. There was a phrase you used. Very often in CMU, it's never that serious. How did that phrase come about?
Yeah, so that phrase, it's actually like something that I didn't purposefully try to come up with. So I used to be part of a club called Toastmasters, and I think you are too, that was
Yeah.
essentially trying to give students a platform where they could hone their public speaking skills. And this one Friday night, I had spent the week mostly doing assignments, but at the same time, I also like still needed to give a speech. And, I remember like going and sitting in the place I used to sit all the time in the flex room and like wondering like, what should that speech even be? So like this was me on the Friday, the day when I'm actually supposed to give the speech. And I'm there thinking about, okay, like what should I really talk about? And then as I like reflected through like my whole journey, especially at CMU and like some of the decisions I had made and how things essentially like came to be alive, I was like, you know what? It's actually never that serious. Like, like here I am, like things things were never clear cut, but I've somehow been able to like navigate my way through. And a lot, like a significant part of it was just because yes, I was actually like working hard and trying to make things happen. But like at the back of my mind, I kind of like knew if things actually didn't work out, that was not gonna be the end of the world and I could default to other things. And so I was like, maybe I should actually just go out there and tell people that no matter what you do, yes, put in the work, but like you don't have to like kill yourself doing this thing because it's just never that serious. Like there's life and there's opportunities and there's other things you can actually do if this whole CMU thing doesn't pan out.
Wow. You know, for some of us, and don't laugh at me, Colin, some of us took things really seriously. We took things really seriously. And some of our colleagues, you could tell that the whole situation was taking a toll on them. But then that one phrase you used always helped some people get out, especially me, myself. I remember sometimes when it was time for Toastmasters and I'll still be working on my assignment and you would come and say, Gifty, it's never that serious. Then I had to stop the assignment and then join in Toastmasters. It was really fun, really cool, and it was motivational. You probably didn't notice, but it helped a lot of people get through things like tough assignments and stuff. Let me show you this, okay? Some of our colleagues actually made a t-shirt with "It's never that serious" written on it. Did you see that?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good thing that was done. It was fun, but then it went to show how important that phrase was to all of us.
Yeah.
The
Maybe
stress, go ahead.
looking looking back, maybe I should have tried to monetize the idea.
You would have made a lot of money, truly. Yeah, because several of our colleagues, I think it was Scholar who brought that idea, right?
Yeah,
Yes, and
yeah,
then I was really surprised when she put it in the page. A lot of people said, yes, let's do this. And
yeah,
everyone had one of those t-shirts. Thank
yeah.
you for being an inspiration to us in
Thank you.
a tough time.
Thank you. Yeah, like it's just something that I never planned to like do or even say, and it just happened. So I'm very glad that it was somehow able to inspire some people.
Thank you very much. So let me ask you this question. Do you think you like fun more than work?
Uh, yeah, so that's a very interesting question. And so I think for most parts it depends. And so like for me personally, so I'm a PhD student and most of my research tries to focus on usable security and privacy. And the fact that I actually enjoy a lot of the research that I actually do, like sometimes it's hard for me to like distinguish whether this is actually like fun I'm actually having or I'm actually working. I mean, technically it's a job and I'm paid to do this, but like it's very, like I find myself working quite a lot sometimes on weekends, not because anyone is asking me to do that. I have like a very amazing advisor who actually explicitly tries to dissuade me from like working outside like normal work hours. But like just because I enjoy doing some of this work quite a lot, sometimes I can find myself like doing it like over the weekends or over holidays when I'm not expected to. And so when it comes to like distinguishing between fun and work, I would say that like if you really enjoy what you do, and by all means, it's not expected that people should enjoy what they do just because of the way the world is set up. And I have my own perspectives about work and people being required to earn a living. Maybe that's a conversation for another day. But like personally for me, just because I enjoy doing some of the things that I'm doing right now, I kind of like end up actually enjoy like I end up enjoying doing them. But this I do know that this is not always the case for people, and not everyone is supposed to have fun while doing work. But like if you're lucky enough to do something that you like, then it's very hard to draw that distinction.
Wow. Tell us about your opinion on work and earning a living. I want to let that slide. You have to give us some more information on what you think about work.
Yeah, I'm actually very opposed to the idea that like people actually need to like earn a living and all this hierarchy that we attach to like the specific jobs that people do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's very common that you'll find, like people that hold managerial positions, essentially earning more money and being
Yeah.
given more respect just because of the roles that they hold. But if you think about it, like the world would work just about fine without most of these people. When you
Yeah.
think about the people that do the most critical work, so think about the social workers, the healthcare workers, teachers, like these are people who actually like do meaningful work. And for some weird reason, people tend to look down on these people when these people actually do the most important work. And so I just feel like we live in a very flawed society with all the industrialization that has been happening. You'd actually assume that we would work less hours and, people would not be required to just work for like 5 day weeks for absolutely no reason, just because people apparently have to earn a living.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, like I'm just very opposed to like this whole idea that people need to actually work to like earn a living. I think it's very flawed, and it's kind of led to the proliferation of what some people call bullshit jobs, where, we are all just obsessed with having people employed, and none of us actually takes like a step back to look at what the implications of some of these jobs are. Because some of these jobs are actually like directly leading to like the damage of the ozone layer and ruining of our biosphere. And for some reason, we're just obsessed with having as many people as employed for apparently no reason.
Yeah. What will you do if you lose your current job tomorrow?
Um, that's a good question. So if I lost my current job tomorrow, what would I actually do? Um, I think I'd probably like, first of all, I'd probably have to travel back home just because of my visa status.
Yeah.
But I think I'd try and, like go and, I'll obviously like try to find another job, obviously, because we live in a society where like if you don't work, then apparently you will not have, you'll not be able to buy food, you'll not be able to pay for other needs. But I feel like I'm more interested in like, doing jobs or volunteering for initiatives that actually positively contribute towards society rather than just, maybe working as a software engineer at a Microsoft or another big
Yeah.
tech company and just continuously building things without really thinking about some of the societal implications of some of these things that we are building.
Yeah. What would you say about managing stress and if things don't go well for you, let's take
Mhm.
you for example, if things don't go well for you, or you are
Mhm.
stressed, or you are doing research and you're not getting your results, how do
Mhm.
you de-stress? What do you do?
Yeah, so like one of the things I personally like doing is just sometimes stepping aside from things. So it's very often that maybe I'll be coding up something and I'll have a bug and I'll keep trying to figure out like why this is the case. And then, for whatever reason, maybe I'm not getting around the issue. And so for most parts, I'll just like take a step back and try to do something else. So that's just like taking a walk or maybe just calling someone and chatting about it. And so like one thing I just like doing myself is to like take a step back, like your mind somehow subconsciously keeps processing that issue. It's very often that I'll come back, look at it with like clear eyes and I'm able to like see, okay, this is what the issue was. And so for most parts, just like taking a step away and then coming back to it can sometimes be helpful. And also like just talking to other people about random things. It could be about soccer. It doesn't necessarily have to be about that same thing. And so I try call up, some of my friends, have random conversations, and then eventually get back to the issue afterward.
Wow, Collins, thank you so much for making the time for us. What I have learned from you is that it's never that serious. Life goes on, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. If something is wrong with your life right now, we know that everyone has issues, but take some time, take a step back, reanalyze the issue, just realize that life is so much bigger than just the problem you are having now. So thank you so much, Collins, for not giving up in life and then for giving us something to work with as well. Thank you for your time too.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a lot of fun chatting with you, and I hope we get to do this again sometime in the future.
Yes, hopefully in person too.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much. I'll see you some other time. Bye.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bye. Have a good one.
If you enjoyed this video, please hit the subscribe button, like the video, and click the notification bell to be notified of our next video. Until then, please make sure you have at least one good conversation this week.